Welcome back to Learn with Chris. I am Chris. In our video today, I'm going to be looking at another song from the band Wardruna. This one is called Hertan, and Hertan means heart. So let's get started with the song. I'll, of course, stop it every minute or so and talk about what we hear. So let's just begin the first little bit of the song. Yggdrasil.
Säger in i håll och skinn, djupt i blod, djupt i sin, som en vindägg försvinn, som en vind. Nej, försvinn.
Okay, well, pause it there once the begins. So notice, of course, at the beginning of the song, there's a heartbeat. Boop, 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 boop. Of course, obviously, makes sense with a song about the heart. The song is more than just about the heart, though. Actually, it's, as we'll see as we go through it, the overall message of the song is descent, death, and rebirth. So it's that cycle. That's what the song is ultimately about. But have a look, of course, at the aesthetics here. Everything is very dark. It's filmed at nighttime. There's snow. It's actually filmed in Finland, so probably either in the winter or in the early spring or late autumn. I don't know exactly when it was filmed, but the aesthetic is very interesting. It remains quite dark for the entire song. So let's have a look at the initial lyrics that we saw. So let's see. Says down, says in, says into flesh and skin, deep in blood, deep in mind, like the wind I vanish, or disappear, like the wind I vanish. Okay, I don't have much to say about that. I'm not sure it's so integral to the meaning of the song, but that is the intro. Now what we're starting here is they're going to go over a repetitive chant that they will say throughout the entire song. And in Norwegian, or not exactly Norwegian, I think it's more partial Norwegian or also partial Old Norse, Herto Rathik Ramane Willian, Hertho Rathik Ramane Wallace, which means the heart counsels the rider of will, the heart counsels the rider of decisions. And you can think for yourself about what that means, but this chant will repeat and repeat and repeat throughout the whole song, and there's a reason for it. But let's listen to it, and I'll stop it again once they actually get into the second verse of the song after the chant, and then we'll talk about the chant and what's going on there. Personally, I believe that this is it's Galder, and I have to kind of talk about that a little bit. I'm not an expert on this, but I do know a little bit about it. So this goes back to Norse society, Norse culture, Norse mythology. And there were two forms of magic that I know of. The first is called Seither, and that is the magic of prophecy, divination, telling the future, stuff like that. Seither primarily practiced by Sethkona. Witches would be a translation, although I think that's not a good translation because it's too Christian in context. But the Sethkona, the women who would do Seither magic, right, learned from the goddess Freya. So primarily female. Galdr is different than that. Galdr is chanting repetitive words or musical phrases combined with runes, and this would have been the domain of Odin, and he learned the 18 magic runes from, or 18 magic spells learned from his sacrifice on Yggdrasil, which of course is told in the Havamal poem, right? So if you look at the English word incantation, so when you do an incantation, you are saying the magic words, but the word chant is in that word of incantation, right? It has the word chant in it. So the music, the magic is not just a symbol. It's not just something that you write. It's not Harry Potter where you're going to speak some, Latin word or phrase and cast a magic spell. It's sung, right? So it's a combination. Galdr magic is the combination of the runes carved onto something or written onto something, and then of course chanted repeatedly. So this is one song of Wardruna where they are chanting repetitively, a Galdr chant. A better example, though, because the actual effect of that chant is more clear in Lifjaberg, which is their most popular video. I think it's got something like 68 million views on their YouTube channel. It's more than any of their other songs. So Lifjaberg would be the highest. People resonate with that song, listen to it a lot, probably repeatedly, because that song has a very powerful healing chant, and that's what the song is about. So that song, Lifjaberg, is an excellent example of Galdr, but this is another one here too. But the difference is, at least for me, I'm not entirely clear the purpose of this chant, this Galdr chant in this song. I know that that's what it is, but I don't know exactly what effect it is supposed to have. And that's because it doesn't really have an effect on me. So maybe it doesn't resonate with me, or maybe I'm not understanding it completely. Lifjaberg is a completely different situation. I completely understand that song, and I get the intended effect of healing from that song. This one, a little bit more, abstract, or a little bit harder for me to figure it out. But perhaps you completely get some strong benefit, some even, magical benefit from this. Because music and magic are not entirely, they're not that separated from each other, right? So the music of today creating the emotions that it creates is akin to magic, right? And in the past, it wasn't akin to magic, it literally was magic, right? So in my opinion, Wardruna is bringing this back through their songs, right? And the two best examples, Lifjaberg and Hertan. So let's move on to the second verse. So stop there. So, as I said, that the song is about life, death, and rebirth, right? So let's go over the lyrics for this, and we'll talk about it a bit. So, in the core of everything, drums a beat. The rudder on the ship of emotions, of gold, of stone, dance wildly without feet, breaks without shattering. I sink into darkness, the gleaming white. My shell is shed. Only the core remains all alone, without the bonds that bound, without the bonds that bound. So the sinking into darkness. This is the most powerful sentence in the song, for me personally, and so because to die and be reborn, you have to go through quite a lot of trauma and quite a lot of pain. And the whole point about like only my core remains all alone, my shell is shed, right? You're just at your most vulnerable, right? So this is people at their uttermost, at the bottom, right? When they're at the bottom and there's just nothing left but the core of who they are. And at that point, there's only two directions to go, right? Death, like permanently, or rebirth, right? Where you rebuild yourself and you come back out. You come back out on the other side, stronger than you were before. And we're going to get to that part at near the end of the song, right? So, yeah. So, I sink into darkness. Yeah. So, haven't we all, right? And that's going to be another part about this too. There's a cyclical part to this song. Again, we're going to talk about that when we get to the end. The fact that this is a cycle, right? You don't die and be reborn once. It's something that we do all the time. And it's constantly painful, at least particularly for like reflective or retrospective people, right? So we kind of burn away what's bad about us or what we don't like, and we start over again, right? But that process, that dying, is very painful, right? So let's continue. So I'll stop it there again. So, like a seed, I find strength in the soul and in the soil and the murk. That which costs you deeply rewards you deeply. So, like a seed, you find strength in the soil and in the murk, in the darkness, right? And this is a very interesting part of the song. That which costs you deeply rewards you deeply. So this is probably about sacrifice. The bigger the sacrifice, the harder it is. But the ultimate reward of that, the ultimate benefit of that. So all the pain and bullshit and trouble that we go through, the harder, the more powerful that is, the better you're going to come out on the other end, right? So maybe little sacrifices give you little benefit or little reward, right? So maybe you really, really need to get to the bottom, like the absolute bottom, for you to be truly, reborn and transformed. Something like that. And it definitely rings. It definitely rings true. It definitely rings true. All right. Okay. In the next part, have a look at the drummer's face. He has a very almost a look of ecstasy on his face as he's drumming, which is interesting. Not because of the song, but because of where they are. They're freezing cold. They're in the wintertime. They're in the snow, and they still, at least this drummer has this very positive look on his face as they're playing the music, right? So let's continue, but pay attention to the look on the drummer's face in about 10 seconds or something. So I'm going to stop it there because I have something extra to say about that last. I wheel with the sun, I dance with the moon, like a tree I shed leaves, like the fish returning home. I swim upstream from light to womb. Yeah, I think in English it could also be translated to circle or cycle. I circle with the sun, and I dance with the moon, which is very nice, of course. And the fish returning home. Yeah, it's all quite poetic and very nice. But again, this is the movement, right? So from seed to coming back out stronger than you were before you began this transformation from death to rebirth. The little bit on the screen there, Gurid mit Bjorn. We'll listen to this, but this means I hibernate with bears, which doesn't really sound good in English. I mean, it's sleeping with bears, but of course, it's talking about, of course, the strength, right? The strength of a bear, right? So, you go through this process of transformation, and when you come out the other end, you are stronger than before, right? And of course, the bear represents strength, right? So we're going to listen to this little bit here as well as the end of the song. I also want you to pay attention to Einar, his face at the end of the song. He does not have he does not have a happy look on his face. His face actually looks very pained and troubled, and I'll have something to say about that once we get there. Troubled look upon your brow. So, the last lyrics, I hibernate with the bear, multiple times, hibernate with the bear. The end there, like new, I rise from the darkness, the gleaming white. Also notice that I've been trying to learn a little bit of Norwegian, and the pronunciation is different than how they sing it. So you have to be aware of that. If you're learning English, you also have to be aware of that as well. If you're learning English by listening to music, how we sing a word might be different than how we pronounce the word in normal speaking. Like, for example, he says white, kvite, which is apparently not how you say it. It's vite or vite or something. It doesn't have a K sound, at least according to what I've heard from Norwegian, but it's definitely sung that way. It's definitely sung with a K sound. That might be because the K sound would probably, I do believe it would have been pronounced in Old Norse. So maybe he's just kind of keeping a little bit of the Old Norse, although, of course, it's like with English words like knife or knock, or it's not knife or knock, but the k would have been pronounced in Old Norse, but English dropped that K sound over time, and so did Norwegian, as far as I can tell, right? I could be completely wrong about everything I'm saying right now, but sometimes we just speak out of our ass without knowing what we're saying, but it appears to be the case, because you're not supposed to pronounce that K sound in white, but he is. So all new, I rise from the darkness, the gleaming white. With the strength of a bear. All right, so you've gone through this death, this rebirth, the trouble. You die, and then you're a little seed, and you're vulnerable, and you're all alone, and you fight your way back, back to the light, right? From, what did they say? From light to womb, right? And with the strength of a bear at the end. Then why is he so? There's a troubled look upon his brow. Why is he so pained, or looking so pained here? So troubled. Why not happy, right? You've come out the other end stronger than before. Why not happy about that? Well, of course, Einar is the only person to answer that question, because it's his face and his look on his own face. But I would take a guess and say that it's because of the cyclical nature of everything, cyclical nature of life and experiences, and the seasons, and eras, and civilization, everything, right? Everything is a cycle, right? It's very clearly a part of Norse mythology, in the Voluspa, creation, and then Ragnarok, the end, the eschatology, but then it starts over again, right? It starts over with a new world, which is not paradise. It's not perfect. It will have its problems and evil, and it'll go through another cycle, and then there will be another end, and it'll just keep on going, right? So perhaps Einar is not happy at the end of this, because he knows that it'll happen again, right? So there will be another death, and there will be another painful, transformative transition of another painful period, and then there will be another rebirth, right? And it'll keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going, right? So that's probably what that means, at least in my thought process about that. Okay, so this has been Hertan by Wardruna. I will probably talk about Graw, which is the song about the wolf, next. In the next couple of days, I'll make that video. That song is pretty short. It's only like 3 minutes or something, so that should be a pretty quick analysis to talk about. I actually don't have a lot to say about it. I just like it. I really like Liddy's singing and in that song, so I think that's kind of the highlight of Graw. And of course, the one that has been asked, somebody asked me to talk about Lifiaberg. I was going to do it anyway, but yes, I will make a video about Lifiaberg. And that's an important one, of course, for a couple of reasons. The first is that it's the most popular song of Wardruna, according to YouTube viewer numbers, right, with 68 million views. And it's an excellent example of Galdr magic, an excellent example. The healing that you get from that song is quite extraordinary. And you see that in the comments. When you look at the comments of Lifiaberg, lots of people talking about what it did for them, and it helped me as well, right? So there's something very special about that song. which is why it resonates with so many people and has been viewed so many times. So that'll be a necessary video to make, as somebody who's wanting to talk about Wardruna's music and to hopefully introduce this music to other people. Right, that's kind of the point here about why I'm making these videos. So thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.